Bam. We're live. It worked. We're back. You know, it's actually embarrassing that the other one is up.
Is it like, does it stay there? Like a 5-second video?
Delete forever. I understand that this is permanent.
Nothing's ever deleted forever.
Real talk. So we are officially live, which is really exciting because it has been a while since we've been on the podcast, obviously us together, but the podcast at all. Because we've had a lot happen in our lives, our life together, like birthing humans. Well, one of us birthed a human.
Yeah, you did nothing.
I did it not. Well, I did something, but nothing in the recent history. But I'm so excited to be restarting the podcast. But I'm most excited to be restarting the podcast with you. And of all days, today is our anniversary, our 4th wedding anniversary. So happy anniversary. You got that rock on your hand blinded me over there, girl. So in the spirit of that, and in the spirit of restarting the podcast, I want to spend time today talking about the value of doing this thing that we do here, or a big portion of what we do is like exercise and working out like together with your partner. And then everything else that goes into like a healthy lifestyle, like the other 23 hours a day too. So there is no person that I would rather be doing this podcast with, but more importantly, like living this life with than you. So now the world gets to hear me say those things. I'm very uncomfortable. So when it comes to people committing to doing this very hard thing, which is like CrossFit, the most success that I've seen anyone have comes from when the other person in their life is doing it with them. Do you agree with that? And I'm sure you have really like an extensive list of case studies.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. This fly is driving me
I've tried to get it before we started.
crazy. Yeah, people, it's generally like the wife in the relationship will come in first. That's typically, I think, how that relationship
Interesting.
ends up getting started. And we always ask in the consultation process, who is your support system? Who do you have in your life who supports you in your goals and your endeavors? And I would say like 99.9% of the time, their significant other is definitely like the first person that comes up. And naturally we ask too, like, oh, well, what are they doing for their fitness? And usually it's always like, oh, like he or she's gonna let me do this first, I'm just gonna try it out and see how it goes. And then it's like less than a month later, and then their significant other is joining too, because now they're getting to see all of the positive effects that it's having in their life, and they want that too. And also the person who does come in and start, they grow as a person so fast that it's like, hey, I'm working on myself. You need to have something that you need to work on for yourself. Why don't we do this and work on each other together? And so I feel like that's usually kind of like how that goes from the start.
I said this in Jake and Kerrigan's wedding ceremony. And it was certainly not an original idea. Like I stole it from somebody and I don't even remember where, but the concept of like bringing 50%, like each partner bringing 50% to the relationship, I think is really, really flawed, but you'll hear that as like, as advice and like well-intentioned advice. But I believe firmly that for a relationship to work, any relationship, but particularly your marriage, that each partner needs to be bringing 100% to the table. So it's not 50-50, it's 100-100, meaning that they're bringing 100% of themselves. I am doing you a disservice as just as a person, as a human, and as my partner by just bringing a portion of me. Like it's my responsibility to really, I mean, I suppose like to fill my cup first to take care of me. So in turn, I can bring the best me to the table. And the expectation is the same for you. Like, and using us as an example, this fly is
I
like my ADD
know.
is just freaking out, dude. Um, for real, completely derailed. um, and yeah, so like not to be a Debbie Downer, but you see the other side of what you described happen too, where like the one of the most common, speaking of derailings, like one of the most common obstacles or derailings of someone's positive habits and progress in this lifestyle change, this that they're experiencing through their work with their coaches of veneration is like the things that are in the pantry because of other family members,
Mhm.
which is ironic because oftentimes, so like oftentimes is the person who is doing the work on themselves that is also doing the grocery shopping and filling the house with garbage for everybody else. But like you can see it do the opposite too. And that's discouraging because there is such a better way. Like if you're both walking the walk together.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I hear all the time, with, like, my nutrition client specifically is like, "Yeah, but my husband really likes, like, these chips," or, "My children really like Pop-Tarts." Whatever it can be anything that's not technically, like, good for you, and they're always like, "Oh, it's such a struggle," but really, if you can like, if the other members of the family can walk through the door and walk the walk like you were saying, it makes everything for the individual who initially came in so much, easier, because everybody is on the same page about their goals, everyone's down the same path, so it's like, "No, we're not going to buy the Pop-Tarts at the store," and everyone's on the same page with it, it's not the fighting when you go home.
well, we were just discussing like so often the poor decisions you're making, and we can just use like eating as the medium of the conversation here, as the focus point of the conversation. But like so much of the decisions that you're making are just um from like convenience, just from like there's conveniently crap in front of you. Like you didn't even actually want it. You weren't even craving it. Um, but it was there. And like it's not, I mean, I guess it's a lack of willpower, but you could just completely remove it from the equation. And like there's a lot of really high level individuals that that are in our circle and that we work with and that we associate with. Um, and we're all guilty of it, myself included. So when everyone is on the same page, partners and children and family members alike, it's like you're taking yourself to like the 10-yard line
Mhm.
just by all walking that walk. So all of that to say, man, like selfishly talking about us again, like I'm grateful for you, and you hold me accountable just by being you. And I'm just when you're in it and you're doing the thing for 10 years, like sometimes you just lose a pulse of like that's not necessarily normal or the case everywhere. So I'm grateful. I'm really grateful for that. And there's like 1,000 things that I want to talk about with you today. And I successfully pinned us to the wall on the babysitting clock here by taking forever to set up uh, the new system here, which I dig, by the way, because I have no post production work to do. I just like hit done, like I did on the first botched version of this, and it's just there. So, um, I would like to talk a little bit. We're talking about lifestyle, and we're talking about things outside of just a workout. I would like to talk about what we have been working on together. Uh, Put in a nice little box and packaged is called Veneration Growth, and I'm happy to dig in and go off on it. I'm happy to give you the stage. Like, uh, how do you want to go about that?
Why don't you go ahead and
That
just
was not
start?
that was not a tee up for me to, but yeah, you interrupt me. So here is here's what we've found over our work, over the years of our work together, is like when people come in, to work with us, they're looking for meaningful life change, right? They're not most often they're not coming in to look to like improve something specific like their deadlift, right? They're looking to increase their happiness and their health and essentially add years to their life. And one of the four things that you and I and our team do is focus on the movement aspect. But we've identified that there's three other big areas of the big four defined by sleep, eat, move, which is the one that we've done really, really well for a long time, and manage being your stress management. And without even realizing years ago, what year did you found Veneration Nutrition?
In 2018.
So that was just before Riot was born.
Um, yes. Yeah.
And so it's funny looking back now because like we were looking without realizing we were looking to focus on that second lever. So we were already pulling the move lever. We were looking to pull the eat lever to help people in these areas of their life. And I would venture to say almost immediately we found that it was not only about that eat lever, but maybe equally, if not more so, about the other two, which is like their sleep habits and their stress management habits. Keyword being habits.
Hmm.
So over the years, your nutrition coaching practice has evolved, and you're more than I encourage you to chime in at any time and talk about how. But
Do you want me to talk about how right now?
go right ahead. How has your nutrition, that's a better way to, how has your nutrition coaching practice evolved over the years?
um, so when it started, it was very much so like I thought that everyone who came to me, I was like giving them meal plans with macro breakdowns that they would like go home and they would all measure their food and they would all follow this template around their workouts and that they would see all the success and that it was like literally the best thing ever. But people who go from eating the drive-through 4 or 5 days a week don't go home to clean grocery shopping and, measuring out their food and eating 6 meals a day of actual quality nutrition overnight. That's just not how it works. There's a lot of steps that happen before that, like planning, um, what are we going to eat for this week? What events do we have? What could possibly derail that plan? Okay, now we have to go to the grocery store and buy the food. There was just I started to realize that there was a lot of steps that happened before making a meal at home. And um so really took me back to just like starting to work on the habits instead of the numbers themselves on like the macro breakdown of what people should be eating. Like that's so high level and I actually like in the last 2 years, I've had one singular person work on that specifically. Like, that's how much that has evolved. It's like
Mm.
now, like, pretty much nobody does that because it's not realistic. So it took it from, like, an unrealistic avenue down a very realistic avenue where now we are working on daily habits. So it's like it's very custom to the person because not everyone needs the same thing, but it's like, okay, if you're going to the grocery store and you're buying a bag of chips every day, we're gonna change what kind of chips you're buying. And then working on actual just like planning, like every Sunday you're going to write out your meals for the week and then grocery shop accordingly. And
So
here's how to do that.
real quick before we go down like that path of what we would deem to be like optimal nutrition and habit coaching, I want to go back. You said a couple times like unrealistic, like the original approach was unrealistic. Walk me through like, it's probably pretty quick. I think I know the answer to this. Like walk me through what typically happens or would happen with like an original approach where it's like, hey, here's your macro breakdown, here's your meal plan. How does that play out over the next week, couple weeks, like with the original plan? 'Cause-
I would give them the meal plan. We would talk about it, talk about how to measure. They would go home. They would maybe go buy, like, a bunch of great food, but then realize that it wasn't enough food, they didn't have enough for the week, um, they would realize like, oh, measuring is actually kind of hard and takes a lot of time. So they might measure for like a day or two, and then it becomes like estimations, which then leads to like literally not doing it at all. So within like a week, people were not following this meal plan because like our the person that we're trying to attract is the working adult, right? With kids and a busy schedule, like we're here to help the dare I hate the word average, but like the person with kids who's just trying to live a healthy life and wants to be around for their children's lives and their great grandchildren's lives. And so that involves being busy most of the time. And so to it just went from like 0 to 1,000 like without any steps in between.
Mm.
And it was like trying to like drive a NASCAR before you even like got your driver's
Sure. And
license.
there's just so like the fall off is rapid. Like here's all the things that you could be doing, and then they are taking action on them briefly, but it's like
Yeah.
trying to eat the whole elephant at once, like no pun intended eating, but like eat the whole elephant at once, and then like that results in paralysis by analysis, overwhelm,
Yeah.
back to nothing.
Yeah, and then people weren't seeing results, and so they were stopping, which, like, I can't blame them. Like, I was trying to do something for them that they were not ready for whatsoever. So that drastically changed how we approached nutrition coaching overnight. And then so once we kind of got a little like a handle on that, we started to notice that like the majority of reasons why someone doesn't eat well or doesn't lose weight or drinks more alcohol than they should is stress. Like you can boil pretty much all of that down to stress and whatever that means to them because each person's stress is different. How they handle it is different and how it affects everyone's body is different. So like someone could be doing everything they should. They're eating realistically, they're eating normally, they're working out 4 or 5 days a week and nothing's changing with their bodies. And then that's frustrating, right? So it was like, "Oh my gosh, like, well, what's bothering you in your life?" And then they'll tell you the mile-long list of stressors that they have and it's like, "Okay, like, well, like cortisol is a real thing, hormones are a real thing,
Mm.
and stress does impact those. And so that does make a difference in someone's weight loss journey and fitness journey. So then we started talking about that in nutrition coaching, which is now called growth coaching because we are doing it much more than that. So then after that, I started talking about people sleep with them. So because if you don't sleep through the night, you're gonna wake up and I mean, I worked night shift for a very long time. Like, I know that not sleeping through the night absolutely impacts your body. It impacts how you're eating, how much you're eating, your metabolism. It impacts hormones, what's being released and when. And so that plays a huge part in it. So if you're not sleeping, like, or if your quality is poor, if the amount that you're getting is poor, that also affects your fitness journey and your weight loss journey. So that's why we talk about all those things now in our nutrition program, which is why the name is more fitting to be called growth because we're not just talking about nutrition because there's so much that plays into what you're eating and the success that you're having.
Which leads to kind of just to take this opportunity to talk about like branding, right? Um, when you hear of like a rebrand, uh, 99.9% of the time, what you're seeing is like a company like change their logo and change their color scheme. So like if a Porta John company is called like Porta John, and then and their colors are blue and white, and then they do a quote rebrand, and then it's porta potties and their colors are green and white, like you can call it a rebrand, but nothing changed about the experience. They're still collecting your fecal matter in a plastic box.
Why was
So
that your first choice of example?
I have zero explanation. So branding, like branding is what you do. Like it is what in the service industry, like we serve our clients. We are here to help our clients live a more full life. That branding is what we do, the results that it yields, how it feels, how it looks, how it's served, how it's presented, how it's received. That's branding. So for the last the last 4 or 5 years, we have been rebranding or establishing the brand of our nutrition program. And finally, the name of the program, Veneration Growth, is just indicative of what it actually is. So I'm so excited to just be doing all the little nuances like on the back end that tells that story better. But that's what it is. It's explaining, telling the story of what the help, what the coaching is. So
Mhm.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped for you. I'm pumped for our coaching team. And most of all, I am pumped for our clients that continue to see these incredible results and those we haven't yet got to meet and serve.
Mhm. Yeah, me too.
So, hey, we are creeping right up on the time that we have to roll. So I am sorry for that. My horrible preparation today, but
It's not horrible.
it was really
It's
good to knock the rust off and to get rolling on the podcast again. And I have a lot of really awesome guests coming on soon. And I'm looking forward to us being able to do this regularly and share the things that we are passionate about and the vision for Veneration and what we're doing and where we're going and who we're serving. And most importantly, to those listening, like how we can help them. And I've said it about 1,000 times today, and I'll say it a million more times throughout the rest of my life. But we're here to cultivate and guide meaningful life change.
Mhm.
And this place will change you, but you have to allow it to do that. And
Mhm.
step one is walking the door. So I want to close out today with just a couple of things. I want to remind anyone now that we're rolling here that they can submit their questions for myself or any of our coaching team to info@crossfitveneration.com. So whether it's fitness, nutrition, sleep, or stress management related, or anywhere in between, we'd love to answer your questions. And better yet, I'd love to have you on the podcast and talk about it. I'll answer your questions live if you've got them, or if you have contribution to the conversation. Yeah, let's do it. So info@crossfitveneration.com. If you have found any value in the things that we're discussing today or ever, please like our page, subscribe, and comment on the YouTube page. Activate that algorithm, baby, and consider paying this forward by sharing on your media pages, and hope that it can bring value to others and that we can reach the lives of the people that you love the most. Finally, if you or your friends or family members or your coworkers, someone that you care about, would like to begin your health and fitness journey with us, I'd like to personally invite you in for a conversation. That's step one. Okay. It all starts with a conversation. You can head over to CrossFitVeneration.com or click the link in the show notes to book your free new member consultation at Veneration, where we'll team up with you to learn about your story and your goals and get you on a custom action plan to bring your goals to life today. My beautiful wife, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm looking forward to the next one. Let's go get our kids and enjoy date night for our anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Bye, everybody.